Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head down to South Africa once again, and we're going to revisit a brewery who you've already seen me do a couple of reviews from. So for this one we're going to go back to Cape Town and do another beer from Devil's Peak Brewing. So this one is their Pale Ale. It comes in at 4% ABV, so it is a kind of session IPA Pale Ale type beer, this one, and this is a West Coast style beer. You saw me review the King's Blockhouse before, which was a really nice sort of West Coast type IPA. You also saw me do the Cut and Run, which was a more kind of hazy New England type beer as well, which I was really quite impressed with too. So hopefully this is another one that kind of follows in the same light, and I hope you guys enjoy my take on it. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Devil's Peak before. There will be another two in the fairly near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the South African beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to Devil's Peak Brewing. I've got some brewery notes here. So Devil's Peak Brewing, it was founded by Greg Crumb back in 2012, and he'd travelled the world, sampled a lot of different beers, and then he also began to dabble in home brewing as a result of that. But he and his wife were quite avid climbers, and they used to home brew and then share their beers with fellow climbers and farmers that they would meet on their travels. And eventually they were asked to brew a beer for a charity event that was held by Rocklands, and while they were kind of going through this process of making their beer, they decided to name their beers and label them as Redcliffe Brewing Company, and it went down, the beers went down really quite well, so this kind of got them thinking about starting up their own business. But after this, Greg's friend Wolfgang from Paulaner in Cape Town, he introduced him to a group of people, one of whom was Russell Boltman, and they wanted to develop beer for their contract brewing project, which later evolved into Black Crow Brewing Company. One of the partners there was also Christian Andersen of Beerwerk and also Beer Here. I don't know if he's still involved with Beerwerk, but he is still doing Beer Here from what I gather. But he later pulled out and returned to Denmark, and it was during this time that they adopted the moniker Devil's Peak Brewing Company. And this comes of course from the mountain that looks out over Cape Town. But Greg and Russell set off on the nano brewery route, and they were later joined by Dan Badenhorst, and they started up in Somerset West in Cape Town, and they were later joined as well by Derek Szabo. So in April of 2012, Greg left Devil's Peak to return to the US with his family, and then JC Stein was hired to actually train as a brewer, and he came from the wine industry and had some home brewing experience, but he's now the head brewer and driving a lot of their growth and things like this. But the brewery relocated in 2013 to Salt River, and they're now based at a 6,500 square metre facility with a taproom in Epping as well, and they also run a few restaurants too, and they've been working on doing some kind of barrel aging projects, and they're the first in South Africa to do this with beer from what I gather, and they are looking at opening up a second brewery in the UK at some point as well. There has been mutterings of them doing something down somewhere in London, so we'll see how that kind of pans out. But I've enjoyed the beers that I've had from them so far. They do seem to be the sort of big craft beer name when it comes to South Africa. There's a lot of little breweries kind of popping up around down there from what I gather, but these guys seem to be the sort of really recognisable one, if you like. So we'll see how they get on. They do seem to be quite an interesting company, and the beers that I've tried from them so far have been pretty good as well. So interesting times ahead from South Africa, I'm sure. I've heard that they're doing their own hops and things like that down there as well, and it does tend to be that the countries that do wine well tend to do beer well as well. You know, South Africa is one of the countries that seems to fit into that bracket. So we'll see how we go, and hopefully I can review some more South African beers for you in the future. We'll see how that goes as well. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about the brewery. If you want to learn a little bit more, follow them on Facebook. I'll put the link in the description below, and I'll put the brewery website, like I said, as well, so you can check those and have a little further read at them if you are interested. But yeah, let's have a little look at the artwork of this one then before we open it up. You can see quite nicely presented, quite similar to the other artworks that you've had. What was I going to say? This one's quite similar to the Cut and Run. It's not so similar to the Devil's Boathouse or whatever it was called. I forget the exact name of that beer. But there you can see Devil's Peak bottle cap on this one. I do like how they use the kind of card spade as their symbol. But like I said, a 4% pale ale type beer, this one. But it should be quite nice. So without further ado, let's get it out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Nice bit of smoke on the opening there. and we'll get it out and into the glass. You can smell some of the nice fruity and grassy notes off this beer just as we open it up. So yeah, this one's a nice kind of crystal clear beer. This, look at that. You can see there's a solid half finger of quite a bumpy white head on this one actually. I think it must have just been because I've just sort of rinsed out the glass there. You can see there's quite a bit of carbonation sticking towards the sides of the glass there. The beer is actually quite clear when if I put my fingers behind it, but there's sort of condensation on the glass so you can't see it that well. But yeah, I think it's fair to describe this one as quite a pale golden straw type colour, this one. But yeah, you know, it looks pretty much exactly as you would expect a pale ale to, and that head is just turning away to be a slightly more foamy head now, but quite a few bubbles going up towards the bottom of that head. But yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on with this one. Pretty much appears exactly as you would expect a pale ale to. Ooh. That's quite an interesting note on this one. I do wonder if there's some South African hops in there, because there are a few kind of aromas that aren't quite so familiar, to be honest. So yeah, it's quite fruity, this one, I would definitely say that. But yeah, I think there's a little bit of it has got a bit of a kind of gooseberry note to it, this beer. There's definitely some passion fruits and a bit of mango in there, I would think, as well. But it's gooseberries that really kind of strike me with this one. It makes me wonder if there's a bit of citra in there, you know, when there is mango and there is that gooseberry, and you know, those are two kind of telltale signs, if you like, that the citra hop is in there. But definitely I think there's some passion fruit. There could be some Simcoe in it. Yeah, I'm sure it said on the website it was mainly American hops, but I wouldn't be surprised if they are using some South African varieties as well, to be honest with you. It would be cool actually. That would probably be a major selling point for this brewery, if they actually, for their export beers, if they did like a South African IPA that was using South African, the big fruity South African hops. But yeah, a little bit of grapefruit, definitely some passion fruit and mangoes in there. I think, to me, it's just gooseberries. Maybe there's a little touch of like melon or something as well. It does have a little bit of that kind of quality to it actually. But yeah, definitely a little bit of kind of floral aromaticity. This one, it probably leans more towards the grassy side of things in terms of the sort of floral grassy components of the hops, but nice fruity juicy notes. I can't speak in this video, man. But yeah, nice fruity juicy qualities, grassy aromatic. There's a little bit of sweetness to the malt base as well. There's a bit of a sort of bready quality to it, and definitely some sort of biscuity sweetness. It almost reminds me a little bit of McVitie's Digestives actually. So just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. But let's have a taste of this one now. So this one is the Pale Ale from Devil's Peak Brewing Company in Cape Town in South Africa. Brewed with American hops, 4% ABV. Let's see how we get on with this beer. Slàinte, skål. Yeah. I mean, it's basically kind of what it says on the tin, to be honest, or what it says in the bottle. It's a sort of just a kind of sessionable West Coast IPA. It's not quite as bold, if you like, as the Devil's Brokehouse or the Cut and Run. But obviously, it's not meant to be. It's meant to be more of a session beer. This one, like I'm saying, it's meant to be just a kind of easier, easy-going beer. This. But you know what, it's solid. It is a solid pale ale, that. It's nicely done. I mean, the malt base has everything you'd expect. You've got a little bit of that bready quality, that just blankets the middle of your palate. It does get a little bit thicker, actually, as you kind of go further and further into the taste. There's a nice little bit of sweetness there, maybe a little touch of caramel, but it's mainly it's a kind of biscuity sweetness to this one. You can feel it becoming a little bit more biscuity as you move from the centre of the palate out a little bit. In terms of the hoppy notes, back corners of the palate, you've got a little touch of earthiness there. As you come further forward along the sides of the tongue, you start to get the more grassy kind of floral notes. It is a little touch spicy actually. There's a little bit of a kind of spicy note to this beer. Then round the very front curve of the palate, it's just got that lighter sort of grassy note to it. But yeah, the fruity notes are where this beer really kind of really kicks off actually. There's quite a wee bit going on in terms of fruitiness with this one. So yeah, in terms of the fruity side of the beer then, for me, it's passion fruit, I think, that's forming the base of this one. I don't think there's any grapefruit really to this beer. There's a little bit of mango or something in there. And I reckon it's maybe Simcoe and Citra that they've put into this beer, just from the flavours. Yeah, I'm pretty sure actually that it is Simcoe and Citra that's in this beer. Because as I say, there's a bit of passion fruit there. That's the kind of telltale sign of the Simcoe. It's got that really nice passion fruit flavour, a little bit of mango. As you go further into the aftertaste, you start to get a little bit of the kind of lychee and gooseberry notes out of this one. And there's a slightly kind of lemongrassy component to this beer as well. You can feel that coming out on the edge of your tongue. But I mean, overall, it's a really nice beer, this one. It's in terms of a paleo, it does actually feel a little bit heavier than it is. Like if I tasted this beer, I would have guessed that it was the malt base gives it away a little bit, to be honest, but I would have guessed probably that it was, I would have guessed that it's maybe around 5.5%, something like that. I probably would think on a blind taste that this beer is a little bit stronger in terms of alcohol than it is. But yeah, it's nice how everything kind of goes together in this one. That's what this beer is all about. It's just nice and sessionable, and it's got everything that you'd want. As I say, the malt base is nicely done. There's a good bit of hoppy bitterness, and it's got the juicy fruity notes. It's as I say, it's not quite as bold as the other beers you're going to get from Devil's Peak, but it's certainly solid enough, and it's a nice easygoing sort of session beer that I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink that again. You could easily sit out on a warm day and drink a good few of those, so I can see why they would want to produce something like this. So thumbs up once again to Devil's Peak Brewing Company. They've done a good job with this beer. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I would say it's on the bottom end of mid-bodied. This it's sort of between light to mid-bodied. Carbonation does have a little bit of a prickle to it. Quite an oily beer, this one, in terms of mouthfeel. Good little bit of hoppy bitterness to it. I would guess it's maybe around 40, maybe pushing 50 IBUs, something like that. It does have a good little bit of bitterness to it. The malt base has a bit of sweetness as well, but it's quite smooth, but the sweetness comes out a little bit later on, and it's got the nice kind of juicy fruity notes that you would expect too. So yes, it's got everything you would want. As I say, not quite as bold as the other Devil's Peak beers, but certainly it's a nice, good, easygoing session one. I really would quite like to try their lager beer that they've got, actually, because that's one of their flagship ones. And you know, South Africa does have the kind of history of drinking lager beers because of the Dutch influence and stuff like that. But a really nice beer, this one, and I'm glad I was able to review it for you. It is cool to be able to review things from different countries, and it's cool to see that yet another country seems to have quite a thriving craft beer scene. So hopefully we can get more South African beers up here in Scotland, or in Sweden of course, where I can get them too. But yeah, really interesting beer, this one, and I'm glad that I was able to review this for you. So I hope you've enjoyed my take on this one. So let's leave it at that. So yeah, this was the Paleo from Devil's Peak Brewing Company in Cape Town in South Africa. A really, really solid beer. This one not quite as bold as the other ones that you'll get from this brewery, but definitely very, very solid in its own right. So I think that's a good way to sum it up. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Check out my social media. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Devil's Peak as well. You will see me reviewing 2 darker beers at some point in the fairly near future. But thanks again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. The Paleo from Devil's Peak Brewing Company in Cape Town in South Africa. Really nice beer, that. Definitely one you want to check out for yourself. So until the next time, stand you just now, and I will catch you guys later. Skål.